And 3 days after the birth, my husband finally came. But he was not alone. He brought an unknown woman with him. I was taken aback, but I tried to get a word out. "Who is this woman?" I managed to squeeze out a few words, and my husband smiled and said, "She's my girlfriend. Or better, my future wife." "What do you mean?" "I'm tired of you." "What?" My name is Elizabeth. I'm a 25-year-old company employee. I just recently got proposed by my boyfriend, John. I met him when we were in high school. We started dating during our freshman year of high school, and we broke up once during our senior year. After we both graduated from college and became adults, we met again when we went out for drinks with our former classmates. When we met as adults, my impression of him changed again. We went out a lot and started dating again. 3 years after the beginning of our relationship, he proposed to me. "I will love you, Elizabeth, for the rest of my life. So will you marry me?" Those were the words of the proposal. I believed in his words and agreed to marry him. I was very happy in my new married life. I can be at home with my husband every day. We both work, so it's only at night that we see each other during the weekdays. But even so, I was happy to be able to stay with him until morning without having to go to either of our houses every single time. When we were in high school, we couldn't cook at all. But in college, we each lived on our own. We both improved our cooking skills. So we were able to share the household chores and have a well-balanced life. My husband's specialty was fried food, and his fried food was excellent. I'm not good at fried food, so I'm glad that my husband is willing to cook it for me. On the other hand, I'm good at cooking Japanese food such as simmered vegetables. My husband used to praise me for the exquisite taste, which is neither too rich nor too bland. I thought we would continue to support each other and live happily together. 1 year into our marriage, I became pregnant. I was so happy that I immediately told my husband, "John, I'm pregnant."
"Oh, really?"
"Yes, I am."
"Oh, yeah."
My husband was so surprised. He had his mouth hanging open like in a cartoon. "John?"
"Oh my God, I'm going to be a father."
"Well, your reaction is a bit slow."
"Because you surprised me so much."
"I'm so excited."
"Yeah, I'm excited too. If we're gonna have a baby, we're gonna have to do our best."
My husband was so happy that I was pregnant. I knew I would enjoy raising a child with him. My husband was very concerned about my health at first.
"Elizabeth, take it easy, okay? You can quit your job if you have a hard time."
"Thank you, but I'm gonna try until my maternity leave."
"Okay, I'll take care of the house chores."
"Thank you." Thanks to my husband's dedication and support, I was able to rest well during the morning sickness. And as I entered the stable period, the time of delivery gradually approached. But then my husband started coming home late. "Did you work late again today?"
"Yes, I've been leaving things to my coworkers. Now that you're in the stable period, I thought it was about time I returned the favor to the company for letting me go home on time."
"I see. So you went out of your way to come home even though you had to work overtime."
"That's because your body is the most important thing. But I neglected my work too much. I don't want to be unemployed after the baby is born."
"That's true. I'm a little nervous about staying at home alone, but if that's the case, I don't blame him. Well, maybe I'll go back to my parents' house when I take maternity leave."
My husband agreed with a relieved look on his face. That's good. Then I can work overtime without worrying. I'll miss seeing my husband until after the baby is born, but I would also be grateful for the support I would receive from my parents at home. Thus, I returned to my parents' home as soon as I started maternity leave. It's so much easier to be in a familiar room and not have to do the house chores. Having my mother close by also gives me a sense of security. But there was one thing that worried me a bit. My husband has been slow to respond to my messages. Until now, no matter how busy he was, he would reply within the day. When I was sick with morning sickness, he used to reply right away even when I was at work. But nowadays, at the earliest, I don't get a reply until a day later, and sometimes as late as 2 days later. And his replies are not so nice either. The other day, I sent him a message asking him if he was still busy at work, and told him not to overwork so much. He only replied, "Yeah." Because I don't see him, it makes me worried that he's not responding. But that's not a good thing because I'm pregnant, so I decided not to worry about it. I thought I should hold off on contacting my husband for a bit. I try to be in a happy mood by thinking about what I'm going to do after the baby's born. I bought a lot of baby stuff. Oh, this? Dad, you're buying too much. No, it should be like this. We need to make sure the baby's safe and comfortable. You're so excited about your first grandchild. You're the one who's always asking questions to the shop assistant. Thank you, Mom and Dad. My parents were looking forward to the birth of our child together. I didn't get depressed when my husband's reply was slow. And now my due date has arrived. I sent a message to my husband that I was due today, asking him to be ready to come to the hospital as soon as he hears from me. But he didn't even read that message. Well, maybe it's because he's at work. My husband knows that my due date was coming up, so he could have been a little more aware. And my labor pain started, and we went to the hospital. I was finally going to have the baby. I didn't have the time for calling my husband myself anymore, so I asked my mother to leave a voicemail telling my husband that I was going to give birth today. But he didn't show up even at night. He didn't return any of my calls. I went up to the delivery table without him. The birth was harder and longer than I expected. Because of the umbilical cord was wrapped around the neck of my baby, I couldn't easily deliver the baby. The baby was born almost a day after the contraction started. But when I saw my baby with my own eyes and picked the baby up in my arms, all my fatigue and pain were gone right away. It was a beautiful baby girl. You did your best to come into the world, didn't you? I said goodbye to my baby for a moment, then I lay down and rested my body, which had been exhausted from the long hours of labor and delivery. Later, I woke up in my hospital bed to find my mother watching over me in my hospital room. Are you feeling better? Yeah, I feel pretty good. Well, I'm glad to hear that. Hey, what's wrong with you, Mom? You don't look well. I mean, I haven't heard from John since then. Yes, that's true. What the hell is my husband doing? We've already had a baby. I was so mad. Why didn't he come to the hospital? I sent him a message saying, "The baby's already born." A few hours later, he replied that he could go to the hospital the day after tomorrow. Why can't he prioritize to come here? I basically tried not to think about anything negative until the birth. Now that the baby is born, I don't have to suppress those emotions. Why can't you come now? When your own child is born, you should fly in. Is your company so strict that they won't let you leave? I put all my anger into the message I sent him. But my husband only read the message and did not reply. What is this already? He was so happy when I told him I was pregnant. Why does he seem so disinterested now? My parents were furious at my husband's unreasonable attitude. My father said he would give him a lecture next time. 3 days after the birth, my husband finally arrived. But he was not alone. He brought an unknown woman with him. I was so surprised that I couldn't speak. You seem to be in good condition. Then don't send me a message like you're in a dire straits. Huh? He not only came with an unknown woman, but I suddenly had to face my husband's cold attitude. I was taken aback, but I tried to get a few words. Who is this woman? I managed to squeeze out those words, and my husband smiled and said, My girlfriend, or better, my future wife. What? Then the woman next to him said, Oh no, what do you mean by future wife? She laughed and lightly tapped my husband's shoulder, saying, Oh no, I'm embarrassed. What do you mean? You don't get it, do you? It means that you and I are divorced. What? Wait a minute. You mean you were having an affair? Well, adultery doesn't sound so good. It's more like I found someone new to love and we hooked up. I don't know what he's talking about. I'm just tired of you. Huh? You know, men are attracted to women who take care of themselves. My husband said that and started to intertwine his arms with the adulterer. Are you saying I wasn't taking care of myself? You grew fat and bloated because you stayed at home all the time. I was just lying in bed because I was pregnant and had morning sickness. Besides, it's normal that you gain weight when you're pregnant. You were having an affair because of that? I want to keep romantic feelings towards my wife, even if we're married. But I don't have those feelings for you anymore. I met someone even better. My husband and the adulterer started flirting again. I've reached my limit. Okay, I'm done. Can you just get a divorce with me or whatever and get the hell out of here? I'll leave without you telling me. And my husband and the adulterer left the hospital room. My husband never once looked at the child's face. He didn't even ask me the gender of the child, so I'm sure he doesn't care anymore. I guess I'm going to be a single mother now. All of this, as soon as I gave birth, hit me quite hard mentally. While I was feeling down, the hospital room door opened. Huh? I was startled. It was my husband and my mother-in-law who entered the hospital room. Why? Elizabeth, I heard the whole story, and I'm really sorry about my stupid son. Apparently, my mother-in-law ran into my husband and his lover in the parking lot. When she questioned my husband about it, he told my mother-in-law exactly what he told me. She told me that she sent the adulterer home first. Then she grabbed him and brought him here. What do you think you are doing? You have an affair with another woman while your precious wife is pregnant, and then you ask your wife for a divorce. You have no idea how many times your father would have hit you if he knew. My father-in-law already passed away a few years ago. I didn't have a choice. She approached to me and I fell in love with her. How could I have married such a man? I see you like her so much. Elizabeth, do you still want to stay married to John? My mother-in-law asked me that, but I had already decided on my answer. No, I want a divorce now. Well,
That's fine. My husband's face lit up when he heard that.
Then there's nothing wrong.
Then you're going to pay alimony for your adultery and child support.
What?
Of course you do. You committed adultery. You have to take responsibility for that. And if you divorce Elizabeth, I'll stop sending you money.
What? No way.
Sending money? What do you mean sending money? What? Elizabeth didn't know about this? His income is so low, so he asked me to send him a few $1,000s every month. He said he was trying to protect his life with you. I never heard that. My husband's salary was low, but I was making up for it with my higher salary. In other words, he was using the money my mother-in-law sent him to pay for his affair. This made my mother-in-law reach her limit of anger. I'm going to make you pay me back every penny I've ever given you. I will cut all ties with you. Don't you ever come back to my house again.
No, wait.
Elizabeth, I'm sorry to have disturbed you. I'll get you a good divorce attorney. And you can take as much money as you want out of this guy. Oh, thank you very much. And my mother-in-law left the hospital with my husband. I demanded divorce, alimony, and child support from my husband. Of course, I also demanded alimony from his adulterous partner. My husband was deep in debt, and my mother-in-law abandoned him. And the adulterous partner left him too, because he was no longer needed if he doesn't have any money. He spends his days paying alimony and child support while living alone and poor. Of course, I have no intention of letting my child see my ex-husband. I just want him to feel sorry for the rest of his life while paying the money. I, on the other hand, have returned to work as a single mother, and I'm working hard while raising my child. I still keep in touch with my mother-in-law and show her my grandchild's face. My ex-husband was an asshole, but I can thank him for letting me meet my mother-in-law, who is a wonderful person.
Having an affair while pregnant is disgusting. I wish there was a harsher punishment for him. But I'm glad the woman got rid of that kind of scum. I hope you and your daughter live happily together from now on.
My daughter was waving at me with a big smile on her face when the train was leaving. It's been about 2 months since she has last seen my husband. She must be really looking forward to visit him. I sent a message to my husband just as my daughter got on the train. And then, I guess about 4 hours after I got home, my daughter called me. I had told her to call me when she arrived. I assumed it was that report. Hello, Sarah. Did you make it to San Francisco and meet up with your father? When I asked her that, she said something I didn't expect in an unhappy voice. Mom, come and pick me up, please. What? Is something wrong? I didn't get to meet Dad.
What do you mean?
I don't know, but I haven't heard from him. And when I went to his house, some strange woman turned me away.
What?
My name is Lily. I have a family of 3 with my husband, Robert, and our 11-year-old daughter, Sarah. I conceived my husband's child while I was still in college, so I'm 32 years old now. After the baby was born, I managed to finish college with the support of my parents. Since then, I have been a housewife. Because of the unexpected pregnancy and premature marriage, there was a confusion and concern from those around us, and we had a hard time. My husband told me that he had always planned to marry me and that it was just a matter of time before we got married. After graduating from college, my husband got a job at a well-known company. It was a good starting salary, and we could live in a company housing. So we didn't have to struggle financially and lived happily together. We didn't have a honeymoon phase as a married couple, but our daughter was so pretty that we didn't care about it. My husband adored our daughter and always took care of her on weekends. Thanks to him, I was able to relax and go out with my friends. I didn't have to put up with getting dressed up or anything like that. I had no complaints about this life. The days passed by in the blink of an eye, and my daughter went on to elementary school. By that time, my husband had been working for the same company for about 7 years and had been promoted. He had more responsibility and came home later and later. But on weekends, we went on family road trips and made many memories. We spent many happy days like this. I thought that these happy times would continue for a long time. But one day, while I was leading such a life, the company decided on my husband's transfer. No matter how much we say he has a family, our daughter is already 11 years old. Until now, he had refused to move on his own due to a transfer because my daughter was still very young. But that could no longer be a reason. Moreover, it seems to be a very important job for him this time. I was told that his career depended on it. The company my husband works for is a big company, so there are plenty of replacements for him. In order for my husband to be promoted further in the future, this relocation is unavoidable. My daughter will be going on to junior high school and high school. Of course, I want her to go to college, and the tuition and other expenses will come with that. So I had to admit his transfer this time. And I hope that it would help him get ahead in his career. I was told that the assignment would be for about 6 months. Well, 6 months is alright, I thought. However, my daughter loved my husband very much, so she was a little worried about being away from her father. My husband told her he would call her every day, and he reassured her that he would try not to make her feel lonely and that she could meet up with him on the weekends and go out with him. This is a husband who cares about his family. Even if he moves out on his own, he will make time for our daughter. She said, "Okay. I'll be sad that I won't be able to see Daddy as much as I'd like, but I'll put up with it." My daughter and I saw him off with smiles on our faces. After about 3 days, my husband called me on video phone and spent a lot of time talking with my daughter. He called before my daughter even missed him. I laughed and wondered which one of them was the child. But it's so heartwarming to see my husband and daughter talking on the phone. I really felt that my husband and my daughter are getting along well with each other. On the first weekend, he was too busy to go out. But the next week, my husband made time and came home on a Friday. I'm so grateful to my husband for making time for our family in the middle of his hard work. My daughter was very happy to have dinner with her father for the first time in a long time. However, about 2 months after my husband's new life started, his behavior began to change. He used to call his daughter once every 3 days for a video phone call. But the frequency of these calls became less and less, and he stopped calling altogether. Of course, I knew that he's busy with his work. And he lives alone and has to do all the house chores. I'm sure that once he gets used to the new workplace, he'll have more chances to go out for drinks with his colleagues too. I shouldn't put too much pressure on him by urging him to get in touch with us. With this in mind, I didn't force him to contact me. However, my husband rarely contacted me anymore. Eventually, he came back here less and less often. I explained to my daughter that her father was busy with work, but I could see that she was grieving.
even if she didn't say it out loud. This was not a good situation. And although I knew he was busy with work, I asked my husband a favor of calling her, even if it's just for 5 minutes. Our daughter always seems to be somewhat lonely at home. My husband apologized. Oh, I'm sorry. But he didn't call Sarah. Soon it will be her birthday. It's this coming Saturday. Maybe he will come home to surprise us. That's what I was hoping for. She also said, maybe Daddy will come home? But on the day of her birthday, my husband didn't come home. And he didn't even call her to wish her happy birthday. This time, my daughter was very disappointed. I was so mad that I called my husband several times and left messages. Lately, when I call him, he doesn't pick up right away. And he never returns my calls, so I called him several times this time. After about the 5th call, my husband finally picked up the phone. What's wrong? You've been calling me a lot, haven't you? What are you doing? What? It was Sarah's birthday today. It's Saturday and you don't come home. You didn't even call to wish her happy birthday. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry about that. Sarah hadn't seen her dad in a long time. She was expecting to see you for the first time in a long time for her birthday. Tell her I'm really sorry and that I wish her a happy birthday. No matter what I said, he just apologized. I gave up and hung up the phone. As I hung up the phone, my anger flared up again. Please think about your daughter and take better care of her. You may be busy, but I still think you are too disrespectful. I sent him a message saying that. But all I got from my husband was, I understand. I'm sorry. After that, there was no improvement. Then another month passed and my daughter went on summer vacation. A little while ago, she told me that if her father couldn't come, she would go and meet him. She has been saying this every day since the summer vacation started. I decided to take this opportunity and let her go to my husband's house alone. She wanted to experience something new, and she was very enthusiastic about it. We live in Los Angeles, and my husband currently lives in San Francisco. She can get there by just getting on the train. I will drive her to the station. I called my husband to pick her up at the other station. My husband agreed to the plan. Now my daughter can finally see her father for the first time in a long time. On Saturday, I saw her off and went home. She waved at me with a big smile on her face as the train was leaving. It's been 2 months since she saw her father the last time, so she must be really looking forward to it. I sent a message to my husband just as my daughter got on the train. And then, about 4 hours after I got home, I got a call from my daughter. It was about noon, and my daughter got on the train early in the morning. She must have already met up with my husband and had lunch before calling me. I had told my daughter to call me when she arrived over there. I assumed she was calling to let me know that. Hello, Sarah? Did you make it to San Francisco and meet up with your father? When I asked her that, she made an unexpected comment in an unhappy voice. Mom, pick me up right now, please. What? What's wrong? I didn't see Daddy. What do you mean? I don't know, but I haven't heard from him. And when I went to his house, some strange woman turned me away. What? What did she just say? No, first of all,
I have to pick up my daughter as soon as possible. Where are you? I'm back at San Francisco Station. Then, going to a fast food restaurant somewhere and kill some time. So I got into the car and headed for the station. There I hurriedly bought a ticket and got on the train to San Francisco. When I finally arrived, my daughter looked at me and was about to cry. We went to a cafe near the station. She was depressed, so I ordered pancakes, which are famous in this area. When the pancakes came out, my daughter's face lit up a little. She seemed to enjoy the pancakes and looked a little calmer. Then I asked her what happened. According to her story, she couldn't get in touch with my husband at all when she arrived at the San Francisco station. She waited for about 30 minutes and he didn't show up. So she decided to take a drastic action to go to his home by herself. Well, I had given her my husband's home address in case something happened. She's a Gen Z girl who uses her smartphone more than I do, so she was able to find her way there in no time with a map. She got on the train and went to my husband's house. And when she rang the doorbell, a woman's voice answered. "Who are you?" My daughter was surprised, but she managed to say, "I'm here to see my dad." That woman told my daughter to go home and not to see daddy because she's in the way. In the end, the woman hung up without even opening the door of the apartment. So my daughter went back to San Francisco Station. I was so angry that I couldn't help myself anymore. If she told you not to see your daddy, then let's do that. I said that, took my daughter home, and immediately started preparing to move out. When I explained the situation to my parents, they were furious. They said they would do whatever they could do to help. For the time being, my parents let us temporarily live with them until I found a job. My husband called me and said, "I didn't see Sarah at the station. Did something happen?" I guess his adulterous woman didn't tell my husband that she turned his daughter away. No, because there was no word from my husband on my daughter's phone when I went to pick her up. I doubt my husband even went to the station. I was dumbfounded and decided to let it slide anyway. Sarah got sick on the way there and had to turn around. I replied that I had just finished at the hospital and that I was sorry I couldn't call him. My husband replied, "I see. I understand." I ended the exchange by replying that I would call again if anything else happened. I was pissed off because it was so obvious that he was just pretending to be worried about me. Well, this guy is going to hell, so I'll leave him alone for now. After that, I was ready to punish my husband. I first sent his belongings to his address. Then I received the results of the investigation I had ordered from the detective agency a while ago. I sent the proof of the affair along with a content certified letter to my husband's workplace. A few days later, everything must have arrived. My husband called me like a demon. "Oh, hey, what are you doing?" "Huh? What? I just thought I'll let you all know what you've been up to." "You gotta be kidding me. We're in the middle of a big problem here." "Of course it is. That's what I was trying to do." "And I can't believe you're sending me my belongings to here." "I don't need your stuff, and I don't pay rent anymore." "What?" Sarah and I moved out of that apartment. "Oh, you left that rental apartment? When did you leave?" "About a month ago." "What? Then no one lived there for a month, and we still had to pay the rent." "Well, that's true, but it's in your name, so it's none of my business." "No." You're about to be 2 months behind on your rent, and you're about to get evicted.
Is that why I've been getting calls from an unknown number lately? I mean, we'll be in trouble if we lose that apartment.
Why don't you just continue to live in San Francisco?
You sent a content certified letter to the company. I'm in big trouble because they found out about my affair. They're going to call a replacement from headquarters right now and move me back to Los Angeles. So if you send me all this stuff, it would be hard for me to go back to Los Angeles. And it's even worse that I don't have a home there.
I almost laughed because the plan worked better than I thought it would. But then I calmed my happy mood and said, "You've hurt Sarah and me so much that you're going to have to pay the price. And it's not over yet. I'm going to demand a divorce, and I'm going to demand alimony and child support."
Oh, no.
Let's just go through the lawyers and get this over with. I said that and hung up the phone. After that, I hired a lawyer and everything proceeded as I had declared. The divorce was finalized without incident and alimony was claimed against my ex-husband and the adulterer. I also asked for the child support from my ex-husband. My ex-husband had the unprecedented incident of returning from a transfer because of the affair. He became the target of laughter within the company. Female employees gave him a mean look. Of course, he can no longer expect to get promoted in the company. But he can't quit because he has to pay alimony and child support. He must feel ashamed of himself. My daughter has become disillusioned with my husband, and when he apologized and said he wanted to see her, she refused to see him. He really deserves it. I was able to find a job, and my daughter and I now live together happily in an apartment. I'm going to work hard to support her and watch her grow up. You know what? My daughter and I were planning a trip to Hawaii, and I was wondering if you'd like to join us, Karen.
That's great. Let's have a fun trip together, the three of us.
My mother-in-law and sister-in-law started talking about their overseas trip thoughtlessly. My anger reached its peak. You must be kidding me. Karen? Planning a trip to Hawaii? If you have money to go to Hawaii, please pay off your debt as soon as possible. My name is Karen. I'm a 28-year-old office worker. I got married to my husband John 3 years ago. Married life with my caring and considerable husband has been very enjoyable, and 3 years have passed in the blink of an eye. Karen, welcome back. Today we're having fried chicken, and the beer is in the fridge. Yay! My husband takes the initiative in doing the housework because we both work, and I think he's a really good husband. I was sure that we would continue to have happy days together. But the situation started to change when my husband asked me for advice.
I'm thinking of sending some money home to my mom.
Well, why? Your mother has your sister. Besides, there's also the inheritance money. My father-in-law just passed away recently. But he had held a high position at a big company, so I'm sure he had a lot of money from his retirement. And I'm sure there was a substantial inheritance. And my sister-in-law is still single and works for a major company. I don't think they have a hard time making ends meet.
Actually, she's in a lot of debt.
What do you mean?
She co-signed for a good friend of hers. She doesn't want my sister, who lives with her, to worry, so she doesn't tell her about the debt. So we're the only ones she can rely on.
But what about the inheritance? Your father's inheritance?
She used it to pay for the hospital bills, medical bills, funeral expenses, and to pay off her debts. But it wasn't enough.
She owes that much money.
I think that's why she's so anxious every day.
We don't have that much money either. We both work for small companies.
I know, but we can try to save money.
I'm baffled by the whole situation. Unexpected difficulties have come to my happy marriage all of a sudden. I was so distressed. I don't want my life to suddenly become difficult, but my mother-in-law was a very kind person to me. Because she's a good-natured person and has a very good character, I guess that's why she trusted her friend and became a co-signer. My mother-in-law took good care of me after we got married, and I feel bad to abandon her in this situation. After much consideration, I decided to send money to my mother-in-law. Since then, I started to save money every day. I was careful about spending on food and refrained from my hobbies. On weekends, I used to go on day trips with my husband, but we don't do that anymore. I also don't go out with friends. I used to love having drinks, but now I don't even attend those events. The people at work were worried about what was going on with me. But I couldn't say that it was because of the death of my family. So I told them that I had a liver problem and was told by my doctor to cut back on drinking. We were supposed to send her $2,000 a month. My husband and I would each contribute $1,000 from our own salaries. On top of that, we have to pay rent, utilities, etc., so it's really hard. It was getting more and more stressful. Then one day, I clashed with my husband.
I'm home.
Huh? Welcome home.
What's with your hair? Did you go to the hairdresser by any chance?
Yeah, I hadn't been for a while.
What? Are you kidding? I told you to save your money. Nobody gives a shit about your hair. And you're married. Don't try to feel sexy in some weird way.
How dare you say things like that? It's part of the social etiquette to be well-groomed as a member of society. And I'm not trying to be sexy. Don't talk to me as if no one sees me as a woman.
Oh, you're married but you want to be seen as a woman? Are you having an affair?
What are you talking about? Don't make accusations like that.
This is suspicious. You're actually making more money, but you're lying and using the extra money to have fun with other guys.
That's horrible to say. I work so hard to save money. I pulled a pay stub out of the drawer and showed it to my husband. You see, I took out the money to send to your mom from this paycheck and managed to pay for the hair salon on top of that. I don't deserve to have you accuse me of something you don't understand.
I understand. I'm sorry.
I pleaded my case tearfully, and my husband seemed to trust me. But it was the first time we'd ever bumped into each other like this, and it really took me by surprise. We had never fought at all, and I realized that our bond as a couple was so fragile that we could have broken up after just one fight. The main reason for this was the pressure on our finances from the money we were sending. So I came up with a decision that I would go directly to my mother-in-law and speak to her about reducing the amount of money we sent to her. If I told my husband in advance, I'm sure he would object that he couldn't do such a thing. So I'm not going to tell my husband, and I'm going to go talk to her alone. If this turns out badly, my mother-in-law will hate me and my husband will lose trust in me for acting on my own. But in order to protect our life as a married couple, I have no choice but to act. If my mother-in-law understands, I'm sure my husband will too. I called my mother-in-law in advance and went to her house after work. Karen, it's been a while. Come in. I'm sorry to bother you. Karen, how have you been? It's been a while, Jane. Well, I'm doing quite okay. I heard you were coming over today, so I went to the department store and bought a cake. What? I'll make some tea, so let's eat. You're the one who is receiving money from us, and you bought a cake from a department store? We don't even get to buy cakes usually. My mother-in-law, oblivious to my feelings, was in a happy mood while making tea. Seeing my mother-in-law like that made me angry. Then, my mother-in-law put the cake in front of me and said something outrageous. My daughter and I were planning a trip to Hawaii just now. Oh yeah, Karen, would you like to join us? That sounds great. Let's have a fun trip with just the three of us. John will have to house sit. No problem. He doesn't like hot weather. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law started to talk about their overseas trip. My anger was at its peak. You must be kidding me. Karen? Planning a trip to Hawaii? What's wrong? What do you think John and I put up with every day? Putting up with what? What on earth are you talking about? If you have money to go to Hawaii, please pay off your debt as soon as possible. Which debt? I go through a hard time every day to send you the money. Send me the money? The other day, I went to the hairdresser for the first time in a while with the little money I had left over. Because of that, John and I got into a fight. I couldn't help but start crying. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law seemed to be confused. I don't understand what you're talking about. What do you mean by debt? John told me that you owe a lot of money and said that we should send you money. So we each pay $1,000 out of our monthly salary. What's that? Suddenly, my mother-in-law raised her voice. I didn't hear anything about that. What? I mean, I don't have any debt. If I did, there's no way I could go to Hawaii. Well, then, I suddenly realized. Both my sister-in-law and mother-in-law seemed to have figured out and had a scary look on their faces. What the hell is he doing? I was about to call my husband right now, but my sister-in-law stopped me. I need to find out why he lied to you to get you to pay. Why don't you stop sending money for the time being? Okay, I'll do that. I carried out my sister-in-law's plan. Then my husband said, Why don't you send the money? My mom is in trouble. So I said, I don't have any money on hand, so I'll go and give it to your mother in person later. Then my husband started to panic and said, No, that's okay. I'll go give it to her. And didn't ask me any more about it. My sister-in-law suggested that I also request a professional to investigate the matter. Then I found out that my husband had been having an affair for about a year. This time of last year was around the time my father-in-law passed away. My sister-in-law and mother-in-law were furious when they found out. We called my husband to my mother-in-law's house. Hey, why is Karen here too? You said you had something to do with me today, Mom. I have asked her to be here because it concerns her too. What are you doing cheating on Karen and giving her trouble? There's no point in playing dumb anymore.
I put the photographic evidence on the table. My husband's face turned pale. This is...
It looks like you lied that I have a debt and took money from Karen. You used that money to pay off your lover, didn't you?
No, that's not true.
And you get mad when I went to the hair salon while you were having fun with another woman. That's disgusting.
I'm sorry, it was just a flash of the devil.
Don't think you can get away with that when you had an affair for a year. I'll make sure you pay back every penny I gave you. And I will demand a divorce as well as alimony.
Oh no.
It's only natural that you pay for your sins. And you're no longer my son. We're cutting you off. Don't you ever show that face again.
We were so furious and angry that my husband ran away in fear.
After that, my sister-in-law introduced me to a very good lawyer, and we were able to get a divorce smoothly. My ex-husband and the affair partner each paid me a considerable amount of alimony. Of course, the money I sent home was also added to the alimony. My ex-husband was left penniless at once. At his company, he was given a pay cut because of this incident and was transferred to another department. And I heard that he was dumped by his lover as she wasn't interested in a man with no money. He really deserves it. I, on the other hand, got paid what he owed me, which made things a whole lot easier financially. And I've been able to save a tremendous amount of money every month lately, probably because I've gotten into the habit of saving. I still keep in touch with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, and we're planning a trip to Hawaii once again. He's such a lousy husband, cheating his family and his wife to get money for his infidelity. I think he deserves even worse. By the way, his mom and sister are so cool. I wonder why the husband became such a scumbag when he has such a cool mother and sister. At any rate, I'm glad you were able to get the money back. I hope you enjoy your trip to Hawaii. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to our channel if you like. See you next time!